Recently, I've read this book about two of the masters of Renaissance art, one of them being Leonardo da Vinci, and I found that there's actually a lot to be learned from him that goes deeper than just art mastery and becoming an amazing artist that will be remembered forever. By studying Leonardo's life and the way he used to work and operate in the world, you come to realize that he has actually a lot to teach us about curiosity and play. We all know that our curiosity can be our main lead in life that will guide us to the place we are supposed to be, to the place where we can access our highest success and highest prosperity. But by studying Leonardo da Vinci's life in particular, we can realize to just how big of an extent that can go. If you're interested in this kind of content, if you're creative, if you love art, if you love creating, if you love books, literature, art, and if you're into spirituality, consider subscribing to this channel because I talk a lot about this on here. So at his time, Leonardo da Vinci was actually notorious for leaving much of his work unfinished. Even when he did finish something, it usually took him much longer than what he has promised to his patrons. And even today, if you look at some of his works in museums, you will notice that some parts of those pieces of art are either missing or just sketched out, while other areas are heavily detailed. And you might ask yourself, why is that? How did someone who became such a famous artist struggle to finish his work? The answer is actually much deeper than one would think. Leonardo da Vinci was obviously not lazy or easily distracted. He was simply driven by curiosity. And he can now, across centuries, teach us the value to curiosity, even in our modern times. You see, he was much more than just an artist. Leonardo loved to explore, to learn, to observe, to study things. So he was a passionate explorer. He was an eternal student. He was an observer fond of the world surrounding him. There was almost nothing he didn't want to understand or study in more depth. And he spent the majority of his time doing just that, observing, studying, learning, and sketching about it in his journals. In fact, if we go through his journals, we can find such a vast variety of topics. He studied the human body, human muscles, human bones, even the fetus. He studied organs, botany, flight and bird anatomy. So specific. Water flow and hydraulics. In particular, I remember that he made a whole plan about how to take away all reserves of water from a specific Italian city by changing the course of its river away from the city. Crazy. And even horse anatomy. He loved horses. So many times the commissions he took on were simply an excuse to learn something new, to explore a new topic, to go and observe that one specific thing, or to simply find a new way to do something that has only been done in one way up until then. He was simply deeply curious and passionate about the world altogether. He tried to find new ways of doing things, new ways of doing art, different from what had always been done up until then. And so as he delved into this curiosity, into his feeling of play, following what interested him and what he wanted to dedicate his time to, he made his patrons wait. And mind you, his patrons who paid for his artistic work were also the people who put food on his table, basically. That was his source of income, yet still, he loved learning and exploring more than being paid for doing something in the way someone else wanted him to do it. By doing this, obviously, he has left, as we have said, some works not completely finished because he just jumped from one topic to another, following the hunch, following his own inspiration, and not forcing himself to stay on a topic if something else had suddenly started to look even more interesting. Yet, even after spending years and years studying a single subject, he never deemed himself good enough to come to a point where he could simply stop learning about it and maybe start teaching someone else about it. He was never a master, he was never a teacher, he never wanted to teach anything to anyone. He was simply hungry to know more, he was always curious. Where others in his time might have written manuals and guides on their expertise, Leonardo only wrote his notes for himself. In fact, the journals we have now were only meant for personal use. So Leonardo studied not to be the best, not to come to a place to be able to teach about it, but for the sheer joy of it. He was able to see something valuable, interesting, or otherwise beautiful in absolutely anything surrounding him. He let his curiosity lead the way, and despite just how slower that made his work, he always prioritized curiosity and play. And yet, all of this was not at all unfruitful. With every single thing he studied, every topic that might have seemed completely random or irrational, he was actually getting closer and closer to his biggest life achievement. The Mona Lisa is currently the most famous painting in the world. It attracts millions of visitors to the Louvre Museum every single year, and it is simply one of a kind. It is simply iconic. There isn't anyone who does not know what the Mona Lisa looks like or who painted it. And if we look closely in the Mona Lisa, we can see the culmination of every single little curiosity that Leonardo has followed throughout his life. While he was being led by simple curiosity and the pleasure of exploring. What distinguishes the Mona Lisa from every other piece of art in the world is its enigmatic nature. Somehow Leonardo was able to paint a figure that seems to both be smiling and looking at you mysteriously. Her stare seems to be following the observer around, and you're not quite sure whether she's laughing at you, making fun of you, or if she's completely stoic. This image, one of the most easily recognizable paintings in the world, would have never been born if Leonardo didn't follow his curiosity and his hunches. In the Mona Lisa, we can see just how much of what the artist has learned from the seemingly random topics actually helped him to achieve this undescribable feeling. In particular, what helped the most the creation of the Mona Lisa was all of the studies of the most elusive things that Leonardo could find. And by that I mean in particular the flow of water, bird flight, and anatomy, because Leonardo's studies of anatomy were simply unbelievable. What makes the Mona Lisa so hard to grasp is the fact that the eye of the observer does not see her smile directly, but a part of the subconscious mind recognizes the subtle positioning of the muscles under the figure's skin by the subtle shadows that the artist knew so well how to paint. So Mona Lisa's smile is not really there, but somehow your brain seems to sense a presence of a smile even though your eyes can't see it. And this is a mastery that is just out of this world. And once again, what helped Leonardo create this, the reason why he was the only one who was able to create this, was because he learned so much by following his curiosity, by studying the flow of water, by studying bird flight, which also implied studying the winds and the movements of air, and obviously by studying anatomy with the most amazing of dedications, because we know that in order to study anatomy, Leonardo actually went to see bodies in order to understand the positioning of muscles and organs and bones and everything in the human body. He was dedicated. He loved his curiosity and he followed it and he trusted it. And what his curiosity led him to is the most famous painting that we know now, is the Mona Lisa. Were Leonardo not led by his curiosity, we would not have the Mona Lisa. Were he not be interested in play, he would not have created the one painting we mostly remember him for. Had he ignored his hunches, he would not have become one of the greatest artists in human history. What can we take from this? What can you take from this, even if your goal in life is not to become the second Leonardo da Vinci? This story, this very real story, tells you one thing, a thing that I think is often overlooked, and that is that your curiosity is your lead. The things that light you up and make you feel playful, the things that you enjoy doing, no matter if they are productive, no matter if they bring you some sort of income or whatever, those are the things that will actually shape your journey. Those are the things that can lead you to your best case scenario. Your interest in a certain topic, no matter how small you might think it is, no matter how random you might think it is, no matter how irrational you might think it is, that interest has been planted in you for a reason. You would not feel attracted to a certain thing, hobby, endeavor, piece of media, whatever lights you up. You would not be attracted to it if it didn't have something valuable to live inside of you, something valuable to teach you or to show you. You would simply not feel this kind of curiosity if that thing wasn't important for your journey. In the same way, a hobby can add value to you in other ways. Maybe it is a hobby that connects you to people. Maybe it is a hobby that allows you to explore the beauty of community. Even something simple as just a feeling that specific interest gives you is part of the journey and is meant to add something to your life. So no matter how small, how silly, how random an interest, a curiosity, a need for play looks like, it should always be followed. Acting on your curiosity will open you up to a whole world of new ideas, new possibilities, new skills, or even more interests that will ultimately lead you to something bigger. All of this will build you into the highest, best version of yourself that you so very deeply crave to be. Prioritizing play, prioritize feeling pleasure, prioritizing joy will bring you to places of good feelings that will inspire you, that will make you more bold, more creative, more brave, less hesitant to move in the direction that you deep inside know is right for you. And so your curiosity is the key to truly living in your purpose, to walk your path, to go towards your greatness and the divine success that has been planned for you in this life. So to put it simply, your curiosity should be your guide. Play should be your guide. Doing more of what really brings you joy. Not allowing anyone to rush you or to put you in a box or to limit you in any way. Following hunches that might not make sense to anyone, sometimes not even to yourself. Because if you don't do that, if you don't explore your curiosity, if you don't follow the good feelings, if you don't actively create space for what lights you up from the inside, you might just be robbing the world of another Mona Lisa.